Hi, this is Mike Gabel of the Rochester Rattlers in True Lacrosse. Okay, today we're here at the True Lacrosse headquarters in Illinois. Today we're going to go over goalie TrueTip. One of the most common things that youth and high school coaches really don't know how to coach goalies. It's something that they find really intimidating because they never played, but it's actually really simple. Today I'm going to go over some do's and don'ts for goalies. All goalies want to make sure they start out and have a good stance. Okay, that's our starting position. We need to have a good starting position just in general for all sports. And when a goalie gets into his goalie stance, he wants to make sure he's in an attack mode. He can see the ball. He can move quickly to the ball. First off, we want to talk about making sure the goalie gets in a good athletic position with his lower body. Okay? Commonly, coaches will always remind goalies they need to have their knees bent and they need to be on the balls of their feet. Okay? One of the don'ts that goalies want to do is make sure that they don't have their knees forward. Okay? All right, you can see that my knees are bent and my heels are off the ground, but my body weight, my upper body is actually back. Okay? All of my body weight is between my hips and my shoulders, and I want to make sure that that is pushed forward so I can start anticipating I can be quicker to step. Okay? So one of the do's for making sure we're in a good lower body position is have our knees slightly bent and actually push our hips back. Okay? If I push my hips back, my upper body just moved forward, and now all my body weight is on the balls of my feet, and I can get in attack mode. The next thing we're going to talk about, okay, is where our hands need to be in relation to our body. Okay, I see a lot of young goalies, they'll start off, they'll have their hands really close to their body and they'll have their elbows close to their body. All right, we need to make sure our hands are out in front so we have free range of motion with our stick. Okay, we don't want our stick, we don't want our arms messing with our body or our jersey or our equipment or anything like that. We want to make sure we have freedom and we can move our hands out in front of our body. Okay, one of the don'ts also I see a lot of young goalies do is they'll hold their stick just like this. All right, we always want to make sure our hand is as high as it can be. All right. The higher my hand is, the more control I'm going to have over my stick in the stopping area, okay? And that helps with my hand-eye coordination. I'm moving my top hand to the ball and trying to get it right with that top hand and the biggest stopping area. So make sure our hand is all the way to the top, okay? The next thing is where we put our bottom hand, okay? All right, there's a couple different things you can do to make sure that your bottom hand is a good spot, okay? You can line it up with your hips, okay? We don't want to have it too wide. We don't want to have it too close together, okay? The wider my hands are, the stronger they're going to be, the less likely my stick is going to turn, but that movement of my stick is going to create a big circle, okay? The closer my hands are, the quicker they're going to be, but then again, I'm going to start losing strength and control, okay? All right, so it's good to have it about a foot apart, okay? And it's always good to have a piece of tape to remind the goalie where to put their hands, okay? The next thing you'll see a lot of goalies do, all right, which is not good, is they'll have their stick tilted, okay? Anytime that I start tilting my stick, all right, my stick is actually getting a lot smaller and smaller to the shooter, okay? I want to present that out as big, okay? This is a big object. This is an obstacle the shooter has to shoot around, okay? All right, so one term that we always use is don't break the glass, okay? You can see how my stick is flat, and I want to imagine that there's a piece of glass in front of my stick, okay? If I start tilting it like this, or even like this, you'll notice that if I had a piece of glass in front of it, it would have broke, okay? So we want to make sure that's a reminder that coaches can always say, don't break the glass. The last thing is that I see a lot of young goalies, or coaches always remind goalies to get their elbows up. One of the most common reasons why goalies were told to get their elbows up is because they start off with their stick really low to the ground, okay? And coaches would always say, get your elbows up, and they'd raise their stick up, okay? Right? Ideally, whenever we are in our stance, we want the top of our stick, the top plastic, to be lined up with that crossbar, okay? All right, we don't want it too high, and we don't want it too low, okay? We want to make sure we are in our stance and it's lined up with that crossbar, okay? Again, we're using it as an obstacle that the shooter is shooting around, okay? If somebody shoots it stick side high, I want to be able to make that save every time, okay? All right, so one thing that goalies can do if they're not tall enough, all right, to make sure it's lined up, all right, a young goalie, like a shorter goalie, you can remind them to have their thumb kind of lined up with their eye. You know, overall, you know, with goalies, coaches, you know, one thing I always like to remind coaches, have confidence when you're talking to the goalies, okay? You'll actually know a lot more just by looking at the goalie and realizing, hey, this doesn't look right, okay? So again, in review, making sure they have a good stance, okay? Making sure that their hands are out in front of their body, okay? Hand is at the top, all right? Good hip width between each other's hands, and making sure that top of the stick is lined up with the crossbar, okay? Just like that. And that's the true tip of the week.